What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel dedicated to Manchester United. It's the 28th of April, which means one thing. It's deadline day. The bids are finally going in tonight, and these next 7 days could be one of the biggest moments in our history. Could be in the key word there. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video as we go through these topics on the table. Of course, the big one is the deadline day, which is what most of this show is going to be about. We've had some breaking news about Garnacho, which I went live for before, so you're more than welcome to tune into that after this show, but I'm going to get the lads' thoughts on that as well. You've had a Champions League increase in wage, a little bit of news around that, and some news around Harry Kane as well. So as I said, smash a like on the video. We're going to dive straight into it right now. I'm going to read a couple of quotes out for you guys, and then we'll get your reaction live to it, of course. So, Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani will submit another bid to buy Manchester United tonight and remains confident it will be successful despite concerns. Current owners, the Glazer family, are determined to stay. Insiders maintain that Sheikh Jassim remains the most likely bid to be successful should a full sale take place. If the Glazer family finally give the green light to Sheikh's offer for 100% control, multiple Whitehall sources insist the only remaining hurdle will be the Premier League's strengthened directors and owner test. That's both coming from the Telegraph Sport and Rob Dawson of ESPN as well. So, Sam, Strayaz, whoever wants to kick it off, what are we expecting in the next 48 hours, in your opinion?
Go on, Strayaz.
Okay. I think in the next 48 hours, I think pretty much we'll get a clearer picture of how Sheikh Jassim, even Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and, if there is someone else involved in there as well, how their bids would actually be structured. And hopefully, this is the last round of it. Like, there is nothing that is going to proceed after this, that, there's going to be another round or something. Hopefully, this is the last thing and the last hurdle for the new owners, whoever it is who's going to be coming in. And I think in the next 2 weeks, I think we'll have that candidate. Like, I think it will be official who would genuinely be the next owner for Manchester United, because I think it is, dragged on for a lot of time now. I think it's almost been like 6 to 7 months now. So it has
November.
gone on,
That's when they announced it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And so I think it's gone on for quite some time now. And I think I think now is the right time for the new person to come in to take charge. And, I think if it carries on any longer, I think our summer window will get very badly affected because of it as well. Whoever has to come in, they need to lay down the finances. They need to, financially stabilize the club as well. So it's going to take some time, and for them to actually, do those things in that time, they need to come in, as soon as possible. So, yeah, I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll be seeing, I think, hopefully, much more positive reactions from all sides, from the Glazers as well as from the new owners. And, hopefully, this just comes to an end.
Yeah. Will this be the final round, Sam? Or will it turn into a boxing match at this point?
I mean, it depends if the money or the situation of whatever it is the Glazers want gets to that point, doesn't it?
Do you think it will?
I honestly, God, I stopped trying to guess what the hell that was going to happen a couple of weeks ago, because every time I thought, all right, this is it, it's carried on, it's dragged out, there's been new developments, blah, blah, blah. So I don't even want to take a guess at this point. If say Sheikh Jassim came in with like a ridiculous offer, say $6 billion all over, I think he gets done quite quickly.
Yeah.
But whether he does or not that's a situation to find out. Yep. I think this new thing was Sir Jim Ratcliffe, with being the majority owner, buying out the rest of the Glazers, but Avram and Joel staying on. The minority thing is really interesting. That's something that I could potentially see happening. I don't see it staying the same way it is now, with the Glazers in complete control, and nothing else changing. I ever see the Sir Jim Ratcliffe thing partnering up with him, Sheikh Jassim buying it, or some sort of minority investment. It's one of those three. It's not going to continue on the same way it is, because they're not going to be able to pull dividends out of the club anymore, which is ultimately what they want to do if they stay in charge. And they won't be able to do that if they keep it with the status quo. So something has to change. It's just a question of what it's going to be at this point.
Yeah. I'm gonna touch on that Sir Jim Rat thing. Jim Rat thing. It's not a rat. Sir Jim Rat. Oh, it might be a rat. It might be a rat. Who knows? Sir Jim Ratcliffe thing. Very, very shortly. David Ornstein came out with some really interesting news on that, which we'll touch on. But yeah, I know Sam says there, Shreyas, it's hard to make a prediction, which of course it is. We've had 3 rounds of bidding so far. There could be another 3 for all we know. But if you was to try predict a timeline for the full sale and the transition of the ownership, regardless what happens, if it is the Glazers staying or Sheikh Jassim taking over, whatever it is, when do you think the club will be fully sold?
I think it happens after the FA Cup final.
So do you think it? Do you reckon this carries into the summer transfer window?
I think it does. Yeah.
You think it does? Okay. Which is slightly worrying, isn't it? Because if you want to hit your targets early,
the way it has been going and the way we've seen the Glazers act with the club, I don't see any reason to say that this is going to be fast tracked or this is going to happen really soon, because we've seen the Glazers that they like to drag deals, and especially this is the last time they're going to be making any money off Manchester United, so they will try and keep this going on as much as they can so that they can get as much as money they can possibly get from the new owners. So I think it also depends on the fact as to how we perform as well, because we've seen that certain times when we are not performing well on a consistent basis, the Glazers do get a lot under pressure, and they seem to do a lot of things which they normally wouldn't do in a ideal case scenario. So I think our form and the way we perform on the pitch also plays into that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And when, how, whatever kind of descriptive word you want to use, Sam, it gets done, it doesn't get done, whatever. If it does, what are your personal expectations for the club under the new ownership? I know we've spoken about bits about it before, but has that changed? Has your perspective changed on the whole thing as well? Because time has passed on it.
Just want to thank Aaron Gregory for becoming a real Reds Ultra. Fan of the channel, friend of the channel. Obviously been on a couple of times, but yeah, appreciate the support, brother. Thank you for joining that and supporting the channel. If you want to become a real Reds Ultra, by the way, click the little join button next to subscribe and the like button. You can get exclusive content that is not available anywhere else on the channel, bits and tidbits of news when I can get them, and yeah, you support the channel, and you put everything goes back into the channel. Nobody makes any profit or any money out of this. It all goes back into the channel, so yeah, appreciate it. Under the Qataris, I see massive investment, stadium expansion or rebuild or whatever sort of. I don't see us building an entirely new stadium, to be honest with you. I don't see that happening. I could be wrong, but you never know. I see massive investment in the facilities in terms of Carrington, the women's, the youth setup, all that sort of stuff. I see a massive upgrade on the scouting network. Maybe get a director of football in who's actually got a job, unlike whatever it is that Richard Arnold and John Murtagh do. I don't know. All that will get upgraded to the highest level, hopefully, because you can just chuck money at it. Under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, it's a little more unclear because he's going to structure it in terms of like still keeping debt on the club. So there's probably not going to be the same level of investment, but I imagine that he is going to have to do something about the stadium because it's fucking crumbling. So he needs to do something.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be to the extent of what the Qataris would do, but he's going to have to do something. I imagine there'll be some money there for sort of just transfers and stuff like that, because Ten Hag has to rebuild that squad, so he's going to have to make money available for that. So whether that means the scouting system doesn't get the money that it needs, or the women's team, I'm not sure, because obviously he doesn't have as deeper pockets as the Qataris do. Did you want me to talk about their potential partnership, what it would look like under the Glazers as well, or?
I'm gonna get into that very, very shortly. Just before we do, Shreyas, your expectations as well, personal expectations for the club, what you want to see from the new owners when they come in.
I would want to see more financial stability. I would like to see us, being more cutthroat, when it comes to the transfer windows. If you don't want a player, don't go back don't go back for him in the final days of the window, and end up overpaying for him by a 50 or 60 million margin. I would like to see, players not being offered very high wages that it becomes so difficult for us to actually offload them if they're not working out for our team. And except that, I think ultimately all we need is, the funds being used for the betterment of the club. and actually, being redirected to the stadium, to the infrastructural facilities, towards the club, and being back towards the manager as well. Because at the end of the day, this is how the club will actually be able to progress in the future. And one of the biggest reasons why we haven't really been performing that well over the course of so many seasons up until now. And yeah, I think if it's Qatari investment, then definitely you will be seeing a lot of funds being directly being funded towards the club, whether it's the stadium infrastructure, every single aspect. I think they cover every single aspect of it. And we'll definitely be seeing betterment in a lot of our facilities. And I think under Qatari investment, Ten Hag will have much more freedom to circulate in the transfer window when it comes to going in for players. But I think if you put someone like a Sir Jim Ratcliffe in there, I think Ten Hag, in comparison to the Qatari investment, would have a little lesser in comparison to the funds that he'll have to work with. I think he'll have to be a little smarter as well as to what kind of players he wants to get and how he wants to go in for him. So I think both are very interesting choices, but the fact that you might be seeing the Glazers in a certain role still being involved in the club, I think that's a big no for me for Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah, it's all kicking off at the minute, isn't it, with the recent news that we've had. We'll dive straight into that, lads, because it is a kind of glaring issue as it stands. So David Ornstein's given a very interesting insight to the other side of this with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and he says basically one of the options from Ineos is to partner up with the Glazers and take a controlling stake of more than 50%. When Manchester United were floated on by the stock exchange, they inserted a clause that stated that the most important powerful shares, which are called the Class B shares, can only be owned by the family themselves. And those Class B shares have 10% more voting rights than the other shares, which are called the Class A shares. If any of the Class B shares are sold by the family to non-family members, such as Sheikh Jassim, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, US investment firms, then they will convert into Class A shares with 10% less voting rights. So there's every chance that members of the Glazer family will sell to Sir Jim Ratcliffe or whoever else. That'll take that person over to 50% to become the majority shareholder, but not with the most powerful shares. And if we're looking at this in layman's terms, so even if Sir Jim Ratcliffe has the majority shares of 50%, his share in voting power is equal to 25%, half of its actual value. So if they sold him or anyone else 45% of the club, they still manage the overall club through their 24% share power or 25% share power, whatever it is. Shrez, do you think Sir Jim Ratcliffe has gone down this route maybe because he can't compete with Sheikh Jassim financially? So this is a way to maybe get in the door, maybe take the club over, a little bit of a financial loophole?
I think there's definitely, I think there's two sides to it. One could definitely be that, he's not able to match the Qatar, the kind of buying power that Qatar has, because definitely, I think if you look at, if you compare it with all over the world, I think there are going to be a very few number of individuals or countries who right now would be able to, compete with Qatar if it comes to, buying or purchasing power. And I think the second thing could be that, I think maybe Sir Jim Ratcliffe finds this way a much easier way in order to have an edge over the Qatari investment, that probably the Glazers are still going to be involved. The Glazers see it as a way to probably still be able to make some funds from Manchester United. And when you look at the Qatari investment, they are going in for a full sale. So I think probably working alongside with the Glazers in this sort of deal, maybe it provides them an edge over them.
Yeah.
I think both of them could be very definite choices of it. But I think right now, to go in with an assumption, I think we genuinely cannot go in with any assumption, because nothing has been made clear to us. All we are getting are pretty much just titles or headlines, so we really can't dive deep into it. But yeah, I think still that the kind of purchasing power Qatar has, I think it will take a lot to actually beat them, especially if it's a bidding war.
Sam, give us your take on this whole new kind of chapter in this ever-going story.
I wasn't. I didn't hear about that sort of voting thing and the conversions of the shares until you just said it. When I initially read it, and it was okay. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to buy out the rest of the whatever their name, Wendy, John, whatever the rest of the fucking Glazers are called. Yeah, all of those dickheads. And then he would have majority control and the Glazers would stay on in a minority stake, and whoever the other private investors are, I don't know who they are, but whoever they are.
No beds, let's just call
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's more palatable for me, because if Sir Jim has controlling stake, it means he can do the things he wants to do. The Glazers can still can't take money out because he would have the majority share, so he would have the ability to shut down a dividend withdrawal, would be able to shut down any sort of Glazers thing, but they would still be able to have this pride or whatever it is they seem to try and make us believe they have about owning the club, and they have an emotional connection, blah 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 bullshit. And it's also more palatable than a Qatari ownership for me personally, in terms of human rights abuses, the suppression of LGBTQ people, the workers who have died in Qatar building the World Cup stadiums, etc. And I don't want United to become a sports washing enterprise like City has become, like PSG has become, like Newcastle is on its way to be doing. I hate the Glazers as much as everybody. Believe me, that there's a whole reason I'm part of this channel. I hate the fucking Glazers with a passion. But I would rather have them in a minority position where they have no control and they're still a part of the club than be a part of a Qatari sports washing enterprise. That's how I would feel about it. However, if they're still going to have voting power, control about what happens with the club, and Jim is just there to provide funds, I have an issue with that, because they have to have no part in running this club, controlling this club, voting for this club, taking any money out of this club. If they want to remain part of it, they have to have a minority stake at best. So now I'm in a major conflict of like, do I want to kick in the balls or do I want to poke in the eye? Which one do I want? It's kind of that's where we as fans are at, because there's no good option here, and we're both kind of we're screwed from the get go. So yeah, I'm not happy about either or any of this, to be honest with you, but this is where we are.
Well, surely these new developments that we're starting to hear as fans now, these businessmen who are going in for the club, whoever it is, whether it's Sheikh Jassim or Qatar or a US investment firm or Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they must have known about these kind of situations, these Class B shares and Class A shares, before they got into the dance. So these have probably been ongoing discussions for so long. But we've also heard backstories. Like, I remember when it first came out a couple of months ago, or maybe a few weeks ago, it may have been, when it was like Glazers to stay and everyone was losing the shit. And it was like, this is what's going to happen. And it's been constant twists and turns and whatever. But there's always been that lingering feeling that if they wanted to, they've got that many eyeballs on it now and that much interest where they can start to be like, actually, maybe there's a way we can stay on, even if it's, we'll have voting rights, the most voting rights, but then we'll get funds, which is what we wanted in the first place. How is that going to, how is that dynamic going to work amongst the family? Is Darcy, Kenneth, Philip, fucking Gertrude, whoever it is, going to be happy about this as well? I'm hoping we have some like big breaking news tonight, just to clear it up, because I'm sick of just going around this fucking constant roundabout where we're going live speaking about it, and we've done that many shows on it now. It's turning into the Frankie de Jong saga. We notoriously we don't do things quick,
and we still don't. We still don't know either. Yeah, like, it's been going on since November, and nobody has a fucking clue. No, not one person.
No, there's been developments and there's been twists and there's been turns, but there's no concrete news. We had that with De Jong. Maybe it's happening. Maybe it's going to go so close.
They float to Barcelona. Like
yeah, it's a toenail away. Do you remember that? It's a toenail away, and that's what it feels like at the minute. I'm just hoping. I don't know when it'll be. Maybe it could be whilst we're live right now. Maybe it could be 7 o'clock. You can get Sky Cave. If I had a pen in my hand, I'd do the impression.
Talking utter wiggle.
Yeah, talking basically what. Yeah, just doesn't know a thing. Saying my news is that the Sheikh just seems interested in buying Manchester United, and it's like we already know this. Stop talking absolute was, mate. So yeah, it's a definitely a twist in the story, but the wrong twist in it, Sam. When you look at it like that, them Class B shares, that is something that stood out to me straight away.
Yeah,
and I was just like,
that was the worrying bit for me. Like when it was the proponent of like them as a minority owner and Sir Jim's the majority, so he's able to push through whatever it is he wants to do. I was kind of okay with that, but the fact that as soon as he buys those shares, they become less than what they were under Glazer ownership is a very true. I don't know how that's legal, by the way.
How much of a Glazer thing is that, by the way? Oh yeah, when you buy them shares, you get less voting rights.
That's just a capitalism Wall Street thing. I don't think that's a Glazer thing.
Hold on a minute. How the fuck does that work?
That's just greed, innit? It's just like, even when I sell this to you, it's going to be worth less once you have control of it. So you're going to have to pay me an absolute shit ton for it, but when you get it, it's going to be worth less power-wise when you do get it. That's like buying a Ferrari, top-of-the-line Ferrari, and then when you get the car, they went, by the way, I'm taking the wheels off, like, once you've got this. Yeah. So you're going to have to sort that out.
Store it, but you can't drive it. You can buy the Ferrari.
You can look at it.
Yeah. It can sit in your garage.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want with it, but you can't drive it. Only we can drive it, but you own it. It's like,
or if you want to drive, it, we have to be sat in the passenger seat, and you have to go where we want to go. Like, we have to. You want to go to that restaurant? No. We're going to this restaurant. But you get
and obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe knows this, so that's what's irritated me about. I've been on the fence a lot, and obviously the human rights record is vitally important, and we still bring that up when we talk about these things. So Jim Ratcliffe has just like completely gone out the window with me doing this, like working with the Glazers essentially. I hope there was an ideal world where, you know, like I remember when Apple came in and I was getting really hyped about that, and people was like, it's not going to happen, which obviously ultimately didn't. Some people were doing it for the bit of PR, bit of publicity, but that was something that would have been perfect for me, just because. Again, there's questions when it comes to morality and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But Apple, for me, or someone like Amazon, it just would have been ideal, because it's just like, you can kind of go forward with it and have these discussions, whereas the human rights record's so bad over in Qatar, it's like that really, really taints the ownership. It's going to be an ongoing discussion for years.
Not just because of the human rights record, but they're then going to use United to wash that away. And pretend like
they did with the World Cup, basically.
It's like you know, there's like something horrific going on, and someone's got like, you know, with kids, and then they've got a puppet on this hand, and they're like, look at the puppet, don't look at this, like, look at the puppet, shiny, yeah. So everybody's just gonna be like, I'm gonna look at this, just ignore all of this going on over here, and that's what Saudi Arabia are doing with Newcastle. They're like, oh, they're investing in the town, they're building a stadium, look at the club. Isn't it great that Newcastle made it to the top 4? And I'm just like, yeah, but the only reason they're there is because of Saudi blood money. That's the only reason. They wouldn't have made it there. They wouldn't have made it there under Mike Ashley, I tell you that. They wouldn't have made it there under anything else. The fact that Saudi blood money, and I don't want United to become that, because that's what City have become. City, with all the success that they have and all the trophies, except the Champions League, by the way, all the trophies that they have,
for now,
it's fucking empty and hollow, isn't it? Because it's been done by questionable money, and United becomes that. It's just like, even if we win a title, even if we win another Champions League, there's going to be that gut feeling in my stomach of just like, oh, this has been done this shit way. This has been done not the nice way. And I think as a club we should be better than that, but we're clubs. As fans, we have no control. We have no say, so it is what it is. Aaron's in the chat and he said, so Jim teaming up with the Glazers like the guy at the club at the end of the night takes home the fat bird that nobody wants. News to Jim was a bluffer, can stay away from our club. So Aaron is not happy.
I think fans in general, everything you've seen online, Trey, has as well, in it, with the reaction to this, to Jim Ratcliffe, is, how do you feel about that personally, by the way? Because I don't think I've asked you about that, seeing that news.
I'm not a fan of this, because I think the first time we heard that, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is actually interested in buying the club, way before the Glazers officially made a statement that the club is going to be up for sale, was that, he said that the Glazers are very good people, and right now they're not looking to sell the club and things like that. So when I first read that, probably he's looking for a sort of a partnership wherein he'll have majority stake, but the Glazers will be there in, some power. I think I really wouldn't want that, because I think the moment we give the Glazers that sort of, leverage over the club, I think they're just it's not going to end in a good way for the club. I think the more the Glazers are going to be involved with the club, I don't think that we genuinely can move into that new era until the Glazers actually leave. Like, in all honesty, they leave.
with them saying, "Yeah, we're going, they're selling the club." I remember the reaction in November because we went live for it. It was like straight after Ronaldo's contract termination, and we was like, "Get in, come on, what's going on?" Like absolute pandemonium on the show. And now it's like we've got to this point in it where all that kind of ambition, all that kind of excitement has just completely gone out the window. Where it gets to a point where they might just turn around and go, "Yeah, we're selling, but we're still going to be here and we're still going to have voting rights." And it's like, well, you might as well just fucking stay, lads. You know what I mean? You might as well just stay.
The Glazers find a way to ruin anything good about this club, don't they?
Yeah.
Everything we do, like when we signed Jadon Sancho, we're like, oh fucking yes, like one of the best English players in the world. Dragged it out for 2 fucking years. Couldn't do that. We've re-signed Cristiano Ronaldo and it just implodes so fucking quickly. We have the worst season we've ever had. Raphael Varane, we just ruined him with injuries. We just played him into the ground. Just every time something's happened under this club where it's been exciting, the Glazers just fucking ruined it. Just every single time. It's horrible.
I think that the Super League was another one as well, wasn't it? Just a huge kind of like that just added fuel to the fire where you're trying to take us into a league with zero competition. It's like absolutely outrageous.
Like they ain't got enough money anyway. It's like, no, we want more money.
No. It's insane, isn't it? It is insane. And there's going to be a lot of variables going into this as well to see what happens in terms of, I don't know if the effects of the summer transfer window, what's going to happen with that. Champions League football, if we do get that or if we don't get that, is that going to change the price? Is people just going to invest the same amount? It's weird. It's all going off at the minute. But hopefully, if we hear anything tonight, I'm going to Leeds Sports Village, so I won't be here. I'm going to go watch 221s. But if I'm back in time when the news actually breaks, then we will go live for it and we'll discuss that when the bids actually get submitted, because we believe that's right, isn't it? The bids are getting submitted today, the final bids.
Yeah, is it 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
8 o'clock's the deadline.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Right, so 8 o'clock tonight, we're going to hear something about it. Fingers crossed. So we'll part of this.
I don't think we'll hear anything. I think like again, because it's the Glazers, it's going to be like a week before we hear shit. It's just going to be like, all right, the deadline's passed. All right, now we need 4 or 5 days to look at this stuff.
Yeah.
4 or 5 days later, they're thinking about doing this, and then 3 days after that, there's going to be a final and 4th round of bids, and you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
They've picked up.
I don't want
the pen.
Anything but another route.
Yeah, 1 week they picked up the pen. The 2nd week they started to write on the paper. The 3rd week, now they're sending it off by 4th week. Like they're getting it back and they've got to analyze it.
If they got working on this fucking deal, like Ethel from the fucking like retirement home, she's like slow as fuck. Like what's going on? Like just
got the same faxing machine that De Gea had when he was trying to get fucking sold to Madrid.
How long does it take to look at a document and decide? Okay, that's.
I can appreciate these things takes time. Selling a club like Manchester United takes time, but this got announced in November.
We've had 3 rounds of bids, for fuck's sake.
In May. We're in May pretty much. So you're talking like what?
I still remember, when it first got announced in November that the club is going to be up for sale, they said that the club will be sold by the end of February.
Yeah.
Now
then it was March, and then it was the end of April.
Then it was Easter. You heard the line about Easter saying should be done by Easter. It's like bollocks, mate. This is going to drag over the transfer window, innit? Let's just part that. We've got a few more things we want to discuss, taking it away from the ownership. Let's just part of that discussion, and we'll revisit it later when the bids officially go in, and maybe we could talk some more then. There was a little bit coming out about Champions League football and how the United players will net pay rises up to 20% if they seal a return to the prestigious tournament. A number of clubs' recent signings will see their wages increased if United finish in the top 4, and those whose wages were cut last summer are set for an increase too. I think we all remember hearing, don't we, about Cristiano Ronaldo, how his wages went down from 500k to 375k, the poor lad. And obviously there was a few other.
How does he survive on that?
I know. And obviously there's a few other key players who had the wage cuts as well. Now I agree with the incentives and bonuses for getting Champions League football and all that kind of jazz. But when you look at it from the flip side of the coin, will this make players even harder to sell? Because if they've got a 25% wage cut, imagine all the players' wages accumulated that'll be back on that wage bill. Just 25% alone of De Gea's wages is 93 grand. That's just De Gea's, by the way. That's being added back onto the wage bill. And we're struggling to sell players at the minute anyway, aren't we?
Well, hopefully, if he's negotiated this new contract and it is a lower wage, that should then take the sting out of it. Hopefully, as well, we sell... there's arguably up to 10 players that probably should go in the summer, isn't there? Like, I'd say
maybe more.
Maybe more. So, if say you get 10 players off the books wages wise, because I know Phil Jones is on a ridiculous 140k a week, which is insane. The fact that the guy's played no football. You've got Twanzebe, I imagine, is on a decent wage. People like Tellez and Bailly, I imagine Woodward signed up to big fat contracts because he's a fucking moron. So if we can get a couple of players like that off the books, get the wages off the books, that should help us in the meantime. Personally, I think there's only about 3 or 4 players that deserve a wage rise. The rest of them can go fuck off.
Yeah.
Honestly, God.
With that in mind, Sam, sure. I'm just looking at the contracts up here. De Gea, 375k a week. Sancho, 350k a week. Varane, 340k a week. Casemiro, 300k a week. Martial, 50k a week. Bruno, 240. Anthony Dos Santos, 200. Rashford, 200. Maguire, 200. Like, it's some of the wages. And even if you scroll down, Fred is on 150k.
It's ridiculous.
Right? Which is like, not entirely sure about that. Phil Jones, as we mentioned there, he's saying 75k a week, but that's bollocks because I've seen it well higher than that. Yeah, I've seen it well higher than that. Just them ones at the top alone, though, you're like, if you can, some of the players you mentioned there, Sam, if you can get rid of Barry, for, take that wage bill off, despite whatever contract you get, if you can take 200k off the wages, Martial as well, 250 grand, that's almost $500,000 a week off the wages. But Shreyas, it's easier said than done, in it, because we don't sell players very well.
No, and the fact that that they are on these wages is genuinely gonna make it a lot more tougher, because I don't see any other club paying them the wages that Manchester United pays them at the moment. Like any other club in the world, I don't think they would pay Martial like 250,000 or 275,000 per week when he's gonna play just 15 to 20 games a season.
Did we pay his wages at Sevilla as well when he went on loan?
A percentage of him. We do that with every player we loan out. We did with Alexis Sanchez as well.
What's the fucking point? Why are we loaning them? Paying their wages anyway. Ridiculous.
It's a strange one, isn't it? It is a weird one. We don't do anything right at this club. No. We really, really don't. Aaron saying apparently Rain Group aim to have preferred bidders set next week. Yeah, I've also seen that. UEFA are pushing hard for a wage cap. I hope it can happen. Yeah, there's lots to talk about that as well, wasn't there? Introducing the wage cap. It's all going off at the minute. Going into the summer, there's so many things that can change. If we do manage to get into the Champions League, lads, how do you think we would compete? If we was in it this year, let's say, for example, how far would we have got? It's a bit of a throwaway question, a bit of a hypothetical question. How well do you think we would have done?
Probably knockout quarterfinals.
I think quarters.
Yeah, around about there. Because you've seen how we've fallen off this season, and we're at the semi-final stage in the Champions League. So I think we would have gone out previous round, because we were starting to decline really rapidly with tiredness, injuries, players being out. So I think that's probably where we would have gone. Oh, it could have been worse, because that would have been an extra competition to be involved in instead of the Europa League. But I think the intensity and the level is so much higher. Yeah. So you might have seen a bit of a worse performance. You might have seen us go out in the group stage. So
like imagine, like, instead of Sevilla, like if we were in the Champions League this season and we had to come up against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals, and we played the way we did against Sevilla.
Well, I watched City against Bayern Munich, and I was like, wow, just the level and difference is unbelievable. Even Bayern are a very good team, but City just dismantled them. Like, it was insane.
Arsenal, like, they destroyed Arsenal, and Arsenal have been the top of the league for most of the season. And they just,
I can't wait for the moment, by the way, Sam, when the Arsenal fans come out and they go, Gary Neville lost us that league. He would have been saying that with all his commentary bias. We would have won that bloody league. I'm telling you now, that's going to happen on AFTV. You're going to see Tyre walking up to the camera going, Gary Neville, you're a disgrace.
Fucking
I really hope they don't even finish second. Like, they come third or fourth.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Please,
I would wet myself if they...
That would, honestly,
if Newcastle came second, Arsenal third... with no trophy, nothing, and we've won a trophy and finished fourth, it would be...
We've had a better season.
Be amazing.
We've had a better season. I don't care if they've challenged for a title. We have had a better season.
They've won nothing. You don't get a trophy for leading the league.
And top four.
Yeah.
Tell me we haven't had a better season than Arsenal. I'll argue with anyone, mate. I don't give a shit. I love it. I love the meltdown. Let's just hope Man City can beat them in the City in the Champions League.
And then Madrid beat them in the Champions League. That'll be nice.
Yeah. And then they lose to us in the FA Cup final as well.
Yeah.
That'd be a perfect fairy tale story. And us and Newcastle to finish above Arsenal.
Have we lost Nick?
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, Nick has frozen.
God. Okay. I don't know what I can't hear him.
Nick.
Can you hear him?
I can't hear him either. No. Nick.
Okay. No, he's gone. Right.
Oh no.
We'll fill in. We'll fill in for him. Let's see if he comes back.
Yeah.
We'll give it 2 minutes and then we'll see if he fill in. Nick went live for the Garnacho re-signing his new deal, Shreyas.
Yeah.
I am obviously a massive fan of Garnacho and think he's a fantastic player. And I think it's great that we've tied down one of our our best youth prospects, along with we've got the likes of like Palestri, Ahmad, Garnacho, etc. What are your thoughts? Like, you happy he signed a new deal? Happy he's at the club for like a long time now?
Yeah, I think out of every single youngster that we've got at the moment, I think he's the one who has been integrated really well into the team. Like, and Ten Hag depends on him a lot. Like when Garnacho was around, Sancho was, he used to be preferred after Garnacho was being brought on the pitch. And I think next season, I think Garnacho will be the first one, like, as backup to Rashford. Like the moment, like I think right now, maybe, I still believe that, maybe we could be seeing Jadon Sancho leaving in the summer. And if that genuinely happens, I think Garnacho will have a lot of responsibility on his shoulder. And I think it will pay off as well. I think right now he's doing very, very well. I think it was a shame that he got injured in that game, but I think that at a young age he's done he's done a lot for us in his debut season as well. And probably next season you've got Ahmad coming back as well. Palestri will go out on loan, so you've got Ahmad to fill in for Anthony. You've got Garnacho to fill in for Rashford, and probably we could be seeing a lot, many more dynamics.
Motherfuckers.
Oh dear. We were just talking about Garnacho, Nick, because Shreyas has not had his say on Garnacho, so we were just talking about that.
Oh, I'm glad you telepathically got that, because I was thinking, I don't even know if they know the next topic or not. But I'm glad you're prepared. Continue if I was interrupting. Apologies.
Yeah. And I think next season probably we'll be seeing the best version of Alejandro Garnacho under Ten Hag, because I think this was his first season as well under Ten Hag. He's been doing really well, and I think now that he's gone, I think he's got the time. Next season he'll be much more experienced, and probably if we get a stable front three, like we get a striker, I think he'll be much more accustomed to playing alongside them. And yeah, I genuinely can't wait to see him back, because I would never have imagined to say this in the at the start of the season, but we missed Garnacho a lot in a lot of these fixtures.
It's interesting, isn't it, Sam? Because last night is an absolute prime example of where we would have done with the Garnacho, or the game against whoever it is the past couple of games where we looked to the bench. You bring in Fred on, Malacio, Weghorst, who are just making the game worse. He is someone who definitely improves us, isn't he?
Yeah, if you bring him on against, say when we went 2-1 down, and you sort of like lacking in that sort of attack. Like Anthony didn't have a great game, did he, against Spurs?
Oh, he was shit yesterday.
So that's the perfect opportunity. You bring a Garnacho on there, like you bring inject some pace, inject some running at their defenders, and you might create an opportunity, much like the Bruno one, get a third goal, and you're back on top, and and like you see that game out, get 3 points. Sevilla could have been the same option, in the first leg, in the second half. We looked like we were tiring and stuff. You bring on a Garnacho, you get a third goal.
Nail in the coffin.
It's gone. Done. Yeah. We don't have to worry about the second tie then. So yeah, there's so many times during the season where he's been out where he would have been extremely useful. I think Palestri should have got more time than he has. I think he's looked really good when he's come in, and I don't think Ten Hag just seems like he's just going to play Anthony no matter what. He's going to play because he offers so much.
I think it could have been. I think in the second half yesterday, he could have been brought on when we were like 2-0 up. Like if he had to take Anthony off, I genuinely didn't want Weghorst to come on because I knew that he would come in the 10. Bruno will have to shift to the right, and it just breaks the midfield apart whenever Weghorst comes on as the 10.
I agree. And it's just, we've got options now. Like your boy's coming back in pre-season, Nick. I think he sticks around Ahmad in the first team. Shreyas was saying Palestri possibly go out on loan. I could definitely see that. And then you've got Rashford, Sancho, Ahmad, Garnacho and Anthony. They're your forwards. And then we bring in a top-class striker.
Yeah.
I think that could be the sort of dynamic that we have.
The names you just mentioned there as well. So when I went live for this Garnacho thing before, someone was in a TikTok, obviously probably an Arsenal fan or whatever it was, saying future, what future? And the names you just listed off there and the age profiles of him was fantastic. Sancho's still 23. He's having a rough patch, but he's still 23. Anthony's 21. Rashford's only just turned 25. Garnacho's 18. Ahmad's like 18, 19. Yeah. Palestri's, how old is he? He's like 18, 19
19
as well.
Or 20. Yeah,
19, 20. So the future's bright as fuck. If you get that right with them players, we've spoken about this for a while now, actually. With Ahmad, Palestri, and Garnacho, they look like the next class of whatever you want to call them. That are going to fill in them roles, and we need competition. We've got no competition for Bruno at the minute. We've got no competition for Anthony at the minute.
Casemiro.
And we've hardly got any competition on the fucking left wing either, because you're either playing Rashford up top, and then Sancho's out there on the left who's underperforming. So you need competition in all areas. It's vitally important, and I'm buzzing with signed Garnacho because he's a big, big talent. The goals he scored, the importance, I've spoken about it before against Sociedad when we had to score 2, but he got the first one. It was important. The last goal against West Ham, and the assist in the Manchester derby, the last minute goal against Fulham. Like he scored important goals and he's been involved in it at such a young age as well, 18. He's a fucking star, man. He's a star. I'm buzzing with that news. I think there was a little bit last bit about Harry Kane I just wanted to touch on before we head off, guys. And now I'm not going to ask you the mundane, boring questions. We spoke against another guy we've spoken about so many times. There's bits of news coming out, like indirect negotiations have started for Harry Kane, the messaging between United and Tottenham, how they intend to approach a prospective transfer. So the talks progressing, apparently, which we've heard before. Harry Kane will cost close to 100 million in transfer fees, not to mention a minimum of 300k a week. Levy's efforts to stop Harry Kane from joining United this summer are set to be complicated, apparently, by Mauricio Pochettino's imminent appointment by Chelsea. Poch would love to jump at the chance to work with Harry Kane again, but I don't think Kane's going to want to play without Europe, because I don't think Chelsea are getting or in the Championship for that matter.
I don't think he goes. I don't think he goes across to a London club as well. That rivalry.
I agree.
Spurs fans will murder him. That's not happening. If he's going to cost 100 million, walk away. Just don't even entertain the fucking idea and try and negotiate with Daniel Levy to get it down.
Exactly.
It's not happening.
I think maximum you go to 80, like maximum 80, not above that.
Yeah. Just walk away, find somebody else, pay. You could get, for 100 million, you could get you could get a decent striker and a backup for that. Like, you don't go out and spend 100 million on a 30-year-old Harry Kane. As good as he is, as much as I think he'd fit great into the team, 100 million just not worth the price for a 30-year-old who, this is his last big contract. The wages are one thing, like 300 grand a week's a lot of fucking money, but obviously you have to pay top dollar for the best goal scorers, and he is one of those. But 100 million is just too much. That's far too much.
Did you see the reporter ask him about the chants from the United fans, if he heard him? So the United fans were singing "See You in June."
Yeah.
Like screaming it loud. And he said, yeah, I heard him, but I'm just trying to focus at the minute. I'm just trying to get on with the thing. So a little bit of insight there. If we did sign Harry Kane, how far would he take us in terms of competing, do you think? Just him alone?
I think if Harry Kane does come in, I think we'll see us actually, like in games where we've seen that, if you pick the game against Everton, where we went 1-2-0, you could see that 2-0 easily being converted to like 4 or 5. I think he adds a lot more technicality in front of goal.
Forest game.
I think he adds, Forest game as well there. Loads of games. I think even the first Sevilla game, like the first leg, which ended up a draw, I think we could have easily killed that game in the first half itself. We had a striker like a Harry Kane, in front of us. And I think he would actually, he actually knows how to, switch on and switch off. Like, if Rashford and Antony both are having good games, he'll be that kind of a fluid striker who'll look to, play more balls into them and, allow them to play their game. And when they'll see that maybe Rashford or Anthony has a fall, is not having that great of a game. Harry Kane is the sort of player who knows how to be explosive as well. So that kind of a hybrid striker, definitely he'll go out for a lot of money. But I think a lot of the draws and a lot of losses that we've had this season, probably they get converted into wins and draws easily if we had Harry Kane.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Adam just put a joke in the chat. Of course he has, which I just clocked in the corner of my eye. So
is it a safe for work joke?
It's a safe. Yeah,
okay.
It's a safe one. What do you get when you combine a snowman and a shark? Frostbite. It's a proper back. He saw that on the back. He's eating a penguin right now, and he saw that on the wrapper on the back. I'm telling you. Aaron saying last night was just a reminder how well Harry Kane would do at United. His goal scoring speaks for itself, but his passing is next level, and I tend to agree with that. Would he be enough though, Sam, just to challenge for a title?
Maybe if we got midfield reinforcements, like I don't want to mention your favorite guy, but you know who I am talking about.
Yeah.
I think he would be a good main striker, and I think he bags an extra 15, 20 goals, which I think puts us in second position, I'd say.
I think he gets us easily into the second, third.
And then
solidify second or third.
I think he kills games off quicker, so then we get more 3 points. We progress further in competitions because we're able to kill games off in the first sort of half, rather than going into second half, us lot dropping and then sort of letting them back, the other team back into thing, and having to do it in the second leg, which tires legs out. We're not able to rotate anymore because we have to play a strong team again. So I think it just changes the whole dynamic of United. And I think if we get a good striker, a midfielder who's press resistant in the kind of a Frankie de Jong, a new centre back who a young centre back would be good, like a Julian Timber, someone like that who can come in and start trying to compete against Varane and sort of try and take his place. And then Ten Hag seems insistent on getting a right back, and I'm not sure why, because I think we should definitely look at saving some money, keep all the Wan-Bissaka and Dalot, and I think we're all right there. I think we could maybe invest that into another area, maybe get a backup for Casemiro or someone like that, Lavia at Southampton, because they're going to go down. He'd be a cheap pickup, a Paulinho at Fulham, etc. Somebody who could then replace Casemiro. I think that's the way to go, because I don't think we need a right back, but I could be wrong.
I think we need a lot of players, to be honest. I kind of got caught in moments like winning the trophy and the points where we've gone on a really good run of form, but the squad depth is definitely starting to show now, and the lack of talent in the squad starting to show as well. And I think there's a lot of positions we need to fill before we can start discussing this, challenging for the title or challenging for Champions Leagues and that kind of stuff. You look at the level City is setting, the standard they're setting right now. Even Real Madrid, players they've got on the pitch, they've got 3 times the quality we've got in terms of across their the midfield. Or you look at the options they've got: Valverde, Camavinga, Tchouameni, Modric, Toni Kroos. It's unreal. That's depth. That is depth. Yeah. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Even everywhere across the pitch, they've just got really, really world-class players, and that's what we need. If we can add another 4 or 5, which I don't think we will, depending on what happens with the ownership situation, I think we'll add 3 maybe, and they'll be our target striker, right back, midfielder. I think we can push up to that next level where we're starting to compete, but I think challenging for titles and Champions League, I don't think will happen next season. I just don't. I think we're too far off.
I think he needs maybe another window or 2 to get squad depth in, because obviously this summer we can't go out and sell 10 players and bring in 8. It's just not happening, is it? It's not.
No.
Yeah. We'll probably sell 4, maybe 5 at a pinch and get in 3 or 4 players. That's probably what's going to happen. So then Ten Hag probably needs another window. We don't normally spend in January, but obviously if the Qataris come in, that could change. And then the summer after, I think after the third summer window, I think that's when we should expect to start trying to challenge for a title, because I think that's when he's had enough time to get the players in and get the squad that he needs to compete. Because how long did Klopp take before he started pushing?
Yeah, I think with that, I agree with that, but I think with that, Klopp had a much worse team when he was taking over. To be fair, last season was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was. But in terms of the talent we possess in the squad alone, I think it's better than the squad that
he took.
Klopp
he took time, didn't he, to get it together?
Yeah, he took a while. Arteta's a good example. Arteta took 3 years to get to the point that he's at now.
Pep did as well. Pep took time, but Pep won a trophy, didn't he? Did he win the League Cup in his first season?
Carabao Cup.
Like Ten Hag. So it's going to take time, and I think the progress we've shown already is really promising. I just think Ten Hag needs to get rid of certain players and then get in the squad that he wants, and then we can really start to roll. Because you've seen it in a minute. We've done so well, and then we've just slowly started to drip down, slowly, and results have started to stall.
Yeah.
And I think if he refreshes that squad, gets in players that drop won't be as dramatic, or it won't happen as soon as it has this time. I think he'll be able to pace the squad throughout the season, which is a lot better.
Yeah, Adam's saying we have Fred Nick. Klopp didn't have it that bad. Yeah, that's a very good point.
His performance yesterday, my word. I've seen some shit Fred performances. That was bad.
It wasn't as bad as Brighton, but it wasn't far off.
Yeah,
it wasn't far off. And it's weird. I feel like Fred's one of them. When he has a run of games, he'll drop the odd clanger now and then, but he can be good. When he's out of the team, he's not playing. He comes in rusty. He can be horrendous. He can be really, really bad. One last question, just to kind of wrap up the show. If you're being absolutely ruthless right now, going into the summer, what players would you remove from the squad, and what players would you keep to win the title?
Go on, Shreyas.
Who you think could be in a winning title team?
I think to keep, I would say Rashford, Bruno, Anthony, Casemiro, Eriksen, Sabitzer, Dalot, Wan-Bissaka as well, Varane, Martinez, Lindelof, Luke Shaw, Malacia, and then I guess to probably say I would once again start with Martial. I would actually sell Jadon Sancho, McTominay, Fred, Maguire, then your Eric Bailly, Alex Telles.
Yeah, the ones who are just not even questionable.
Brandon Williams.
Brandon Williams, Phil Jones.
Yeah.
But I think genuinely the moment you pick, I think like out of these 11 players, you stick with 6.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. And, like just the starting 11, forget all the fringe players, anything like that. Just who would you keep in that starting 11 going forward? If you're to challenge for a title next season, who could you say he'd be in that team? Just the 11. So you'd say Casemiro, Lisandro, Varane, Shaw, Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, and then you move. I think Casemiro, Eriksen, as well as Bruno. I would actually go in and sign Sabitzer as well, just to add depth. So you have someone who can play as a cam, who can play as that 8, who can play as a 6 as well, a kind of a versatile player to have in certain games. And I think in the attack, Rashford and Anthony. Sam?
I was just seeing a comment from Aaron. Could sell Donny, but then he's going to hand the bibs out. That's so harsh. So harsh. Oh, God. I think we
still have Donny.
Yeah. I think Shreyas is spot on there. I would get rid of De Gea. I think he's just not fit for the club anymore. I'd get rid of Maguire. Just doesn't fit. Donny I'd get rid of. Scott McTominay I'd get rid of. Fred I'd get rid of. Martial I'd get rid of. I wouldn't get rid of Sancho just yet. I'd give him another season. I think he deserves one more season. If he doesn't perform next season, get rid. And then I'd bring in a Diogo Costa. I'd bring in a Lavia or a Paulinho. I'd bring in a De Jong level. I'd bring in a Harry Kane, an Osimhen, that kind of level. And I'd bring in a centre-back, whether that's a Yuri and Timber, or you could go look at somewhere down the leagues maybe. I know there's a lot of good players who in teams that are getting relegated at the minute, so you could possibly look into there and get somebody cheap. So there's options out there. I don't think we have to spend an absolute shit ton of money to improve this team. I think if we're smart about it, we can get decent players, but the problem is our scouting department and our team aren't smart, and they don't do that. So that's where we're going to struggle. We're going to end up paying over the odds for stupid players when we don't need to, if we were smart about it.
This sounds absolutely ruthless, but I think I would get rid of the keeper. I would get rid of Varane. And the reason why I'd get rid of Varane is because you can't rely on him. You need a centre-back partnership that you can rely on for the rest of the season.
That's why I'd bring in a centre-back to compete with him, because he's going to start descending in ability-wise. But I think I've just seen it, don't worry. Yeah, I've just seen it. Oh, dear. Adam, autocorrect, man. Sort it the fuck out. Jesus. Yeah, I'd get somebody to compete with Varane, just because I think he'll start to descend in quality after this season. So I'd bring in a Yuri and Timber, because then if Varane is like, I'm feeling a bit not quite thing, bring in Yuri and Timber. And then if he ends up not playing that many games, you can go, okay, this summer, move him on. That the summer after, move him on.
Yeah, thanks, Adam, for fucking ruining my whole thought process, mate. Appreciate it. Always rely on him, can't you, to just drop an absolute clanger in the chat. Where was he at with that team? I can't even remember. But yeah, Varane. Yeah, I agree with you what you're saying about Yuri and Timber there. That's why I mentioned it as well. But you can't rely on him at all. He's out. He's only going to get worse now. He's 30 years old. He's going to get progressively worse. He's going to have more and more injuries. I love him. I think he's a top quality centre back. But he has no consistency. You can't rely on him. So I would say Lissandro, Shaw, Casemiro, Bruno, Rashford, and Antony. They're the only players I'd keep if we want to win a title. And you add to that, you add 4 or 5 players to that, I think it's a title-winning team. I'm not fully sold on Delo yet. I'm not fully sold on Wan-Bissaka. That I could see them in a Champions League winning team or a title-winning team.
They're in the possible section, aren't they? They're in
possible. For me, they are.
Casemiro is worrying me at the minute, by the way. He's really worrying me. It's not good.
We spoke about that last night, didn't we? So, yeah, I think that's interesting. How ruthless will Erik ten Hag be going into the summer? Very interesting times, and very interesting to see who we sign as well. As always, guys, make sure you are getting your opinions in the chat, because you guys are the people who matter, especially when it comes to the ownership situation. Let the fans' voice be heard. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please do, and smash a like on the video. And thank you to the lads for coming on. It's gone on a little bit longer than we thought, but I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate everybody in the chat who was chucking suggestions in, including Adam with his shit jokes and then his autocorrect. Aaron Gregory saying Everton go down, I'd be looking at Onana. Yeah, really good sort of player.
He's another one who's in the style of like a Lavia, innit? Yeah. Or what, as Adam would say, Labia, which is calling him. Jesus Christ. But yeah, you need that kind of physical specimen in it to kind of fill in for Casemiro. God knows what's happening with. Hopefully, it's just a little blip in his game, because he is not the guy from a couple of weeks ago, is he?
I think the red cards have gotten to him. I genuinely think the red cards have gotten.
He's afraid, isn't he, to make a tackle?
Yeah, I think he genuinely is. I think he genuinely is afraid a lot, and I think it would happen. He hasn't. I don't think before coming to United, he got any red card in his career, and now he's gotten 2 within the space of a season. And genuinely, I don't think they were red cards. I think a lot of it, didn't really go his way. But I think right now he's lost that edge. And, hopefully he's able to recover it really soon, because once again, Casemiro is a world-class player. We've seen the impact that he's brought to the team. And the day, I think the moment, when you see the best of Casemiro, you don't see us conceding any goals. So hopefully, he's back to his best really soon.
Yeah. Dave saying only just got monetization, lads. Don't push it.
It's Adam's fault, not my fault. Yeah. It's Adam's fault.
The ad suitability is going to say Adam was part of show, cannot monetize.
Just anytime Adam's on a show, just demonetize it. Just demonetize it. It's not worth it.
I would imagine, I was imagining if Chelsea do go down, how many players could you get off them?
I mean, fucking hell, there's a fire sale going there.
I'm not ready for that party if they got in the relegation. I'm not ready for it.
Trust me, champagne's going to be popping. I'm telling you right now, if they go down. You can't spend £600 million and get relegated.
They genuinely could, though, because I don't see them winning any fixtures under Lampard. Like, I genuinely don't see them winning any fixtures anytime soon.
The memes of Lampard, every time I see it, it's just getting fatter and fatter.
Have you seen it though? They're not putting it on where it's like noticeable. They're putting it on like sort of £10 or something, and then the next week it's like 20, and it's just slow.
It's so funny. I feel so bad for him, because it's just that situation over there. If you feel you're having a bad day, just think you're not a Chelsea fan.
Yeah,
you are not a Chelsea
or a Chelsea
fan.
manager.
Or a Chelsea owner, for that matter. Yeah. Anything affiliated with Chelsea. It's so bad. So bad. Oh yeah, we'll park it there, guys. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in, getting interacting in the chat, regardless of how crazy your comments are. And thank you to lads for coming on. We'll see you for the Aston Villa preview tomorrow. Do not miss it. And then we'll be live for the game, of course, on Sunday as well. Another big game in relation to the top 4. So huge significance. Turn on that notification bell, smash a like on the video, sub to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Hopefully we'll have some breaking news tonight. If we do, and I'm here, we'll go live for it. So make sure you tune in. Peace.